Ladies and gentlemen, from New York City, Gary Moore.
Thank you. Joe Mungo. Thank you so much, friends. Y'all come. Nice to have you with us. Our first guest today is a very, very young writer, and her very first novel has been accepted by one of the major publishing houses, and what's unique about it is that it is on the adult reading list. And I don't think I've ever heard of that combination ever before in publishing. We'll meet her as soon as we meet our panel here on To Tell the Truth.
Gene Rayburn. Peggy Cass. Bill Cullen. And Kitty Carlisle.
I have heard of early successes in my life, but this young lady that we've got coming up takes the cake for all time as far as I'm concerned. Let us meet our novelist.
Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is Alexandra Sheedy.
Number two.
My name is Alexandra Sheedy.
Number three.
My name is Alexandra Sheedy.
And your delightful assignment, panel, is to uncover the real Alexandra Sheedy, and here is her novel story. She says, I, Alexandra Sheedy, have just written my first novel. It's an historical tale based on the life of Queen Elizabeth I of England. The narrator was able to hear many conversations without ever being noticed. And why? Well, because the narrator was a mouse. My best friend, Jessica Ann Levy, drew the illustrations, and here are two of them. Here is Queen Elizabeth I in her early 40s in a ball gown. And here you see a gathering of nobility watching a play by William Shakespeare. My book is really for people of all ages. As a matter of fact, it's being published on the adult list. The first time the work of anyone as young as I am has been so honored. The title of my book is She Was Nice to Mice. The other side of Elizabeth I's character never before revealed by previous historians. Signed, Alexandra Sheedy. Isn't that marvelous? And we'll be right back to play the game. Meanwhile, I shall place a piece of cheese on my tongue and wait with bated breath. Now, who could forget that across the way we have three astonishingly honest-looking young ladies, each of whom claims to be Alexandra Sheedy, the author of a novel based on the life of Queen Elizabeth I of England. Let's start the questioning with a pretty novel fellow himself, Gene Rayburn.
Thank you, Gary. And may I also add the astonishingly attractive young ladies.
Aren't
They're
they?
beautiful. Number three, you're a darling looking. Are you married? Number three, who published your book?
The McGraw-Hill Company.
Yes, and may I stay with you, number three, is Jessica Ann, who did the illustrations, is she your age or is she an older lady?
Yes, she's my age.
She is your age.
Yes.
And number two, how did you find out about Queen Elizabeth? How did you do your research on this project?
Well, we'd studied Queen Elizabeth the last year in school. We've studied her this past year. And I found her, I chose to make her, well, one of my main characters, and I found her very, very interesting.
Number one, can you name a book that you read that taught you a little bit about Queen Elizabeth?
Yes, I read Elizabeth in Essex by Leighton Strachey.
And number one, do you know what groundlings are? In one of those pictures they're watching William Shakespeare, the royalty. Did you run across the word groundlings anywhere? You didn't do
not
that,
I can
eh?
recall.
And
Thank you, Gene. We're going on, please, to Peggy.
Neither did I. Number two, where do you go to school?
I go to school at the Putney Boarding School.
Thank you. And number three, where do you go to school?
I go to Bartram School in Jacksonville, Florida.
And number one, where do you go to school?
Bank Street School for Children, Manhattan.
Thank you. Well, number one, was it a whole project, your thing of a Queen Elizabeth, like a private study thing that you did on your own?
Well, I was always interested, in that period of time. So I just, I decided it kind of worked, and I was interested in her.
Thank you. Number 3, who was Queen Elizabeth's mother?
Oh, Anne Boleyn.
Thank you. And number 2, name 2 people she had executed.
Oh.
She was so nice to mice, but she wasn't so hot to people.
Earl of Essex and Mary, Queen of Scots.
Thank you. And number 1, in which oh.
I won't tell you, you don't want to fool around with that
No,
team
no.
over there. We're all in trouble. Bill Cullen.
Well, I don't know anything about history. I want to find out about the novel. Number 2, this mouse, who ends up as narrator in your book, does he happen to be a resident of the castle where the Queen's living at the time?
Yes, it's a she.
It is a she-mouse?
It's a she.
Good.
Number 2, staying with you, is there any reason why it's a she-mouse? Any specific reason?
Well, I don't know. When I wrote this, I just got the feeling that I'm not woman's libis, and I'm not against woman's lib. I just decided to make it a she for no real reason.
Well, it's certainly all right with me, number 2. Number 1, this lady mouse, or this woman mouse, I don't want to get in trouble here with these ladies at this age. This woman mouse, is she part of a large group of mice?
Well, yes, there's lots of little groups of mice that know each other, and they all have different holes, and they all visit each other. And he is, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Number 3, now your mouse has to say something. What is your mouse's opening words in the novel? Like, like we know that Melville's novel began with "Call me Mickey" or whatever. Number 3, what does the mouse say at the beginning of the book?
At the very beginning of the book, what
Yes,
does he
ma'am.
say?
Uh-huh.
Well, he says the Queen is one of the nicest ladies he's ever seen.
Hey, now I noticed that your mouse was...
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Let's go on.
Yes,
to
is your mouse a he, number 3?
No, it's a she. I decided.
That's a generic he, I see. Number 2, did this affect your schoolwork in any way, that you were writing a novel?
Yes, it did.
You got bad grades that year.
No, I just sort of ignored part of my homework. I didn't. I don't need to say anything.
Thank you. Number 1, this novel, it's a novel, in other words, you made up a lot of things, is that right?
Yeah.
You made up things that happened to Queen Elizabeth that weren't so?
No,
Or you stuck to the historical facts?
Well, yes, I did. It was almost like a history book in some parts. But I did make up some things. When she's alone, when the rest of the court and the things that were written about in other books, nobody, really saw except for this mouse.
I see. And conversations.
Yeah.
All right, friends. This is a hard one. We've got a bell. And that demands a decision on the part of the panel. And who do you think it is? Is it Alexandra number 1? Alexandra number 2, or Alexander number 3? Well, no matter. To the group, we pay $50 for each wrong guess. We pay them $500 if nobody comes up with the correct Alexandra. And Gene starts, please.
It was difficult because, they're as smart as they are beautiful. And I've narrowed it down to between 1 and 2, and just finally I'm practically on the toss of a coin. But because she was so sure of the gender of her mouse, I voted for number 2.
And so we have a 2, and Peggy Cass.
When they came out, I was going to vote for number 3 because she looks like Antonia Fraser, who writes, it was a lady historian who writes novels and biographies. But I really voted for number 1 because, boy, I thought she really knew an awful lot. And she goes to the Bank Street School, which is progressive and would encourage this sort of thing.
It is indeed that. We have a 1, and we have a 2, and we have a Bill Cullen.
Nothing's safe anywhere anymore. Your privacy. I left the house today, and now I'm worried because I remember what last thing I saw was a mouse with a camera. I like the opening lines of number 3's novel. A novel has to have a good zingy beginning, and because of the zingy beginning, I voted for number 3.
So, best possible thing. Everybody has got 1. Kitty, somebody's going to get 2.
Well, I'm going to take them all 3 home with me. Number 2 also goes to a progressive school,
Right.
Putney. But you know why I voted for number 1? She's got the look of a writer already.
Now, Kitty Carlisle, having been for so many years married to Moss Hart, a writer, she prides herself on never missing a writer, right?
dear.
That's right.
You almost always say, I can tell a writer.
I bet I've done it.
That's what you say. All right.
Oh, dear.
The votes are all in. Now, who better to pick out the real Alexandra Sheedy than her close friend and illustrator of She Was Nice to Mice, Jessica Ann Levy. So, Jessica Ann, if you'll come out here and pick out which one is the real Alexandra.
I do.
And we will see. Well, is it number 3? Oh, it's 2. No. It's number 1. have a seat with Alexandra. You two young ladies be seated, and we'll go on down the line and find out about our other two very successful imposters. Number 2, what is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My name is Maria Gorevich, and I'm in the 9th grade at the Brearley School in Manhattan.
Good to have you here. Number 3, let's just sit and look at number 3.
Right.
Look at her.
Number 3, what is your real name, and what do you do?
My name is Priscilla Craven, and
And?
and I'm in the 6th grade at Bartram School in Jacksonville, Florida.
And she is the daughter of one of the more prominent staff members of To Tell the Truth, Dick Craven, who we just cherish and are delighted to have you with us, young lady. Looks like her dad.
Yeah,
Sure
that's
does. You know? Yeah. Listen, Alexandra, we're all so proud to have had you on the show, and your illustrator as well. Jessica, thank you both, and thank you all for being with us on To Tell the Truth. Good luck.